This is the Dr. Paul Show, a woman's personal guide to understanding men. And now, here is Dr. Paul.
Hi, welcome to the Dr. Paul Show. This is Dr. Paul. We have a wonderful guest for you tonight. Her name is C.C. Schatz. And it's really wild and crazy what she's doing about networking with women who are newly divorced and men, and they have kids, and getting them together. You really got to find out about this, because rather than be in that state of depression that many people are in after they go through a divorce, or state of broke, as many guys find themselves in, she's going to tell you some things that I think you're going to find to be really advantageous. How to get your, what do they call it, your moxie back, or, you know, whatever it happens to be, get back on track and get back in the game. That's what it's all about. We'll have her on at the bottom of the hour, and I don't want you to miss her. She'll be for you, asking questions, answering whatever you want. You won't let it alone, will you? You will not let alone the sociopath thing. Oh, my. I got to read this because we had somebody once as a guest. And ever since we've had that guest on about sociopath and how they react and what they do, we've had an increasing number of responses. And I said, these people who had responded saying, well, that's not the way they are. Well, why do you say that? Because you are one? Some people became very, very defensive about it, which tells me they probably need help. But this one is one you need to hear, and it goes through several areas, and I'm not going to tell you the source, but it was sent, because I really don't know the source, it was sent to me, and it's all about sociopaths. Now we're going to talk about sociopathic behavior, and I know we've been through this with the lady who was the guest, but this is really in depth. Someone said, well, what's the difference between being psychotic and being a sociopath? Well, maybe some, maybe not, but I think when you get the real idea of the sociopath, you're going to find that they are hiding behind a tremendous mask. Sociopathic behavior, manipulative and cunning. Really? Wow. And cunning, too, by the way. They never recognize the rights of others and see their self-serving behaviors as permissible. Can we say politician? Does that sound like any politician you may know? They appear to be charming, as long as they're getting what they want, yet are covertly hostile and domineering, seeing their victim as merely an instrument to be used. They may dominate and humiliate their victims. That's the classic sociopath. Okay? Pathological lying. They have no problem lying coolly and easily. They lie so well that even a trained eye, as in the, I guess, TV series called Lie to Me, that training is really in depth. Some of these people are so good that they can pass through that screening and have you believe what they're saying. It's amazing. What happens also is they try to make excuses, and they convince many people, even to the extent of passing lie detector tests. That is the ultimate, if they can do that. And there are people who are trained in intelligence work to do precisely that. How do you beat a polygraph test? And believe me, that is not an easy thing to do. Lack of remorse, no shame or guilt. You know, I say on this show, don't do guilt. Okay, that's not going to help. You don't carry that baggage forward. But these people have no remorse. These are the cold-blooded killers that shoot somebody and walk away and sit down and drink a cup of coffee and couldn't care less. Well, there are people like that. And there are people that we have to have like that. But this is the real deal. I mean, this is where they're doing it within a, say, a civilized society, if there is such a thing. Mike, is there a civilized society that we're aware of?
That's pretty relative.
Sometimes you're better off without relatives, right? Shallow emotions. What they tend to show seems to be warmth and joy and love and compassion, but it's more feigned because it's all about them. Very narcissistic, outraged by insignificant matters, yet remaining unmoved and cold by what would upset a normal person. I'm not sure how we can use the word normal, but you get the idea. A need for stimulation. They live on the edge. Just because, and remember, just because someone you may know lives on the edge doesn't mean that they're necessarily a psychopath, all right? Or sociopath, excuse me. A sociopath may live on the edge, or there may be other people who live on the edge, but they're not sociopaths. There's a fine line. So you have to have all of these or at least a significant number of these, in order to qualify as a sociopath. How often do I get emails now that ask about, you talked about this particular characteristic. Dr. Paul, is this a sociopath? Because I'm going with somebody that I think is a sociopath. Don't get carried away. They may have tendencies in that direction, but they may not be a full-blown sociopath. Need for stimulation, we talked about that, living on the edge. Of course, why not? A callousness and a lack of empathy. It's like when you see some of these people that have been convicted for these huge financial crimes, and they have literally gold-plated toilet seats. Or what really struck me was when we saw on Wall Street, and I was with a major securities firm as a stockbroker, you see these people on Wall Street standing up, drinking champagne, watching the people who were the 99th percentile down there demonstrating, and they're drinking champagne. That's like throwing gasoline on the fire. Be careful. That can really backfire on you. In fact, oftentimes that's how people get shot. That's not uncommon. So be careful what you do. You do things like this, and sometimes people become very hostile, and you may be sorry for doing what you did. So that lack of empathy may be the very thing that you don't want to have happen. It doesn't even begin the list of nasty, evil, confidence-destroying BS that people spew out from what they say, and they send you messages. By the way, that's another thing they'll do. Hate messages or constant messaging that borderlines on stalking. And they go on and on and on and on and on. Over and over and over, just right after one after the other. Hundreds of messages. This is a form of, obviously, what the sociopath does. It's crazy. Needless to say, it's crazy. And that's not a diagnostic term. Poor behavior controls. Rage, oftentimes, is what happens. People who get into power positions exhibit rage. Outrageous. Just incredible. They do that for two reasons. One is to show others how strong they are. It's a real false sense of security, but they're projecting to others, I'm really the alpha male or alpha female. I can really show this rage. Don't get in my way. The one that you really want to be careful of is the one that has the ice. That's the one to be careful of. There are two types, and I've seen in the military. Those that have hostility and fire and rage. It's that one that's cold, the one that has look in their eyes and they're steel blue cold, just like looking through the ice in a lake that's 7-8 foot deep. Lake Michigan. There's a good example. So behavior is very much a part of it, and we can see this early on. We can see this in juveniles. We can see this in children. We see this in bullies. Bullies are a prime example. Totally unacceptable. The time that you take on a bully, slam them hard, and they'll believe you. They'll back off and do it to somebody else. They're not really brave people, but they couldn't care less. It's all about them. Irresponsibility, I'll give you my word, and it's not worth a flip, because guess what? My word doesn't count. You don't know that, but I'll tell you that, and don't even think about it, because my word means nothing, and that's what they're saying to you is, I give you my word, and it means nothing. They're not concerned about wrecking other people's lives. Promiscuous sexual behavior and infidelity especially, they can't commit. Oftentimes, people are patterning as sociopaths, and I have so many women that email to me and say, I think he's a sociopath, and I think there are certainly tendencies that that person has. Infidelity, promiscuity, child abuse, acting out, those things are all a matter of basic insecurity. They can't commit because they can't commit to themselves. They're always on. They're always on. They're always on. It's never something that's genuine. Always an act. They have no lifestyle realization. They're more like parasites. They will lock onto somebody and suck the life out of them. And if you move, they'll move with you. You got to be careful. They had a significant feature on recent newscast about people that moved in with other people and they can't get rid of them. As soon as they change their mailing address to that location, they're there, and it's difficult to get them out of the house. So be careful when you have a house guest. Make sure it's not a permanent residence that you don't want. That happens. All right, you know, these people that are sociopaths are oftentimes contemptuous of others because they feel they deserve and not the people that are there. They will try to pull them down. Someone becomes successful, they want to drag them back down to their level because they don't want them to be successful. It's jealousy, but it's hostility, but it's more selfishness. They don't want somebody else to succeed. That's all about them. If somebody else succeeds, they don't want to see it. They don't perceive that they have anything wrong with them. There are a lot of people like that. It goes to extremes. You can say, wow, I really feel guilt all the time, but that's not good. What good is that? I'm always bad, I'm always bad, I'm always bad. No. Or the opposite. I'm always perfect, always perfect, always perfect. Well, people can be perfect. They can be perfectly normal. But when they start getting to the point where they're oblivious to it, and they know these are things that I have to show and these are things that I have to do, but they only regard, if you get this picture, what am I going to do to make this person do something for me? It's all about me. It's all about my manipulation of that person. I will be the puppet master and you're going to be the puppet. And groups of people do that too. You'll find that in various religious organizations, social organizations, cultural organizations, where they are basically manipulated and brainwashed. Authoritarian, yeah, they're authoritarian. Dictators are classic sociopaths. Classic. Politicians oftentimes are classic sociopaths. They're secretive and paranoid. And believe me, when I say paranoid, I mean really paranoid. Paranoid, we're beyond paranoid schizophrenia here. We're talking about strictly paranoid. Everybody's out to get me, and I'm going to make sure they don't. And I'm the kind of guy that I don't care what happens. It's all about me. That's where they're from. They oddly enough don't oftentimes have problems with the law. Oftentimes they do, but those that are really, really shrewd seem to get away with it. They get away with it through lying and manipulation. Not that they haven't broken the law, but they tend to get away with it. And on those occasions where they do, they're oftentimes admired even. For example, my grandfather, and I've said this on the show before, used to say, you steal small, they call you thief, burglar, robber. Okay, you steal big, they call you congressman, senator, CEO. It's all a matter of degree. Stockbroker, Wall Street manipulator, banker. Okay, so if you steal small, people are contemptuous of you. You steal big, they admire you. You get by with it. Of course, it didn't work too well for Bernie Madoff, but he got by with it for what, about 30-some years? It's quite a life there. They don't sometimes draw too much attention to themselves in terms of being high profile. It's more subdued in terms of their appearance, but then they make up for it in their weaselness. They want to enslave others. They are interested in total manipulation of you, and I truly mean that. And I'm not just talking about a wage slave now. They want to enslave others. They see themselves as demigods, and they're so perfect. It's kind of like this, I guess, a wife of the Syrian president that goes to London and makes these huge purchases of just incredibly expensive things, while her countrymen are being slaughtered by the government, and no concern, no caring about that whatsoever. They're despots, and they definitely rule over victims in every way. If you have kids, and our guest here pretty soon is going to talk about people with children that get together. Oftentimes, if you have a sociopath and you're married to this person, or you're not married to them and you happen to have kids and you're going with them, this person, this sociopath, be it male or female, don't just say it's male because it isn't, are going to take control. They're going to take control of those kids and you and the entire, and I'm talking about tight control, not just management. There's a difference between management and absolute micromanaging, control, where it becomes abusive. They're justified in everything they do. It's everybody else's fault. If anything negative happens, it's all their fault. They cannot take any type of responsibility for anything they do. We're almost finished with this now, and I just want to go through a couple more things. We talked about no remorse or guilt, and they're truly narcissistic. There's no doubt in their minds that's how it is. So it goes. So if you haven't yet understood what we're talking about when we kind of talk about sociopaths, take a look at that website. You'll see about it and study it. Yeah, people have tendencies to be certain things, and they may be sociopathic in their behavior, but they may not be, by definition, sociopaths. We pretty much read what they are. Look to dictators. They're sociopaths. This is Dr. Paul. We'll be right back after this break with our guest.
And now, back to the Dr. Paul Show.
And welcome back. This is Dr. Paul with our guest, the one, the only, CC Schatzenloch. CC, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, but I think you're doing very fine from what I understand. I talked to you over the break and then early on before we started the show, and you have something going that I think everybody needs to listen to, especially if they're in that 40-plus group set and they have had
Doc, talking to the microphone.
They have had a situation where they got divorced and they have now a new life, and you're going to help them find it. Tell us about that.
Well, Dr. Paul, we have a divorce support group, and as you go through, the difficulties through divorce, then you want to go through hopefully you heal, and you go through the transition of dating. We've found a lot of individuals that are in their over 40 baby boomer bracket. It's very difficult for them because life has changed. Everything's changed when they've been married for years, have family. Everything's grown and gone, and now they're into the world of dating, and it's not like it was when they were in high school.
Well, in a lot of ways it is like they were in high school, but they don't recall exactly what's going down, do they?
Well, I tell you, the majority of baby boomers are now meeting individuals through the internet, which when they were in high school, they didn't have internet, didn't even know what it was.
Maybe that's a good thing.
I know, but they're actually having to learn a whole new set of, just everything.
And you're helping them do that.
Yes, we are. We're helping them transition into dating, transition into the world as it is today, and helping them be able to find themselves again. Because a lot of these individuals have been married for years, and as you know, when you've been married for a long time, you kind of conform,
right? Exactly.
to your partner, and each does. And then all of a sudden, you're realizing everything has changed. My kids are gone; they're grown, and I have to get a life now.
Yeah, and they don't know how to go there.
Right.
So you have a website, correct? Let's talk about that.
Well, what we did is we started the website, and it's on meetup.com, and you can go on
It's called meetup.com.
Meetup.com. You have to join meetup.com, and there's no charge in that, of course.
Okay.
And then you go to My Friends Connect, which is my business, and we have 6 groups on the site. And so you just go in and Google My Friends Connect, and if you put in Palm Harbor as a town, it'll come up all 6 groups. You can choose which one would suit your needs.
My Friends Connect.
My Friends Connect.
Okay, now when you get to that point, then it brings you into your website?
It will. You just click on it, and then whichever suits you. Like if you're going through divorce now and you're really struggling with that,
Right.
It'll connect you with individuals that are going through the same thing that you're going through.
Will you hold a seminar then to...
Well, what we do is you join it and we talk online. We talk through email on any problems and situations that you might have.
Is it a blog? Or
It's kind of like a blog, but it's an interaction email. Which is kind of a cool thing. And then what we do is, because what we realize, in order for us to be able to make that transition and to get into the social realm of things, we have to start getting out. And I know for myself, I was married for 17 years. I never ate dinner by myself. So it's like I can't go to a restaurant by myself and just sit down there and have dinner. So, and a lot
how do you feel? How do you feel about that? Do you think that's a good thing to feel you shouldn't sit down and have dinner, or or what?
Well, it's an uncomfortable situation
Okay.
because it's something that you've never done before. Just like anything, it's like learning how to ride the bike. If you haven't rode the bike in a long time, you probably get a little bit nervous about doing it. So once you get out and you get into and you're meeting people and you're doing things and you realize that everyone's the same situation that you are, you start making friends and you get back into the social realm of things again.
So when you have this blog, do you have a get together? When you say meet up, it sounds to me like you're meeting up someplace.
We call it an event. We actually post it as an event,
Mm-hmm.
and we do various different things, and we do it for different age groups. Like,
Okay.
sometimes we'll have dinners, we'll go out to a restaurant and we'll have dinner. Sometimes we go dancing. We did a session in line dancing, country line dancing. We did, just recently, we did swing dancing. A lot of people came out. We did swing dancing, which was a lot of fun. And, we just do some different things. We're going to be doing some, we're going to try to put a cruise out there.
Good for you. That's excellent. Well, let's go back to something again. Somebody out here is watching, and then they want to see what this is all about. So they can go to your website right now. Don't go yet because you'll miss us. But when they go there, then they're going to be able to see what the event calendar is.
Yes.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then if they say, okay, we're going to join. So is there a fee for joining this?
Well, our groups is just $10 a year. It's very
Oh,
inexpensive.
that'll break you. $10
I know.
a year. Oh.
$10 a year, because we don't look to really actually make money on the individuals. What we're trying to do is to be able to get you into the transition of divorce through dating.
How's that working out? What kind of reports you get back?
Oh, excellent. We've actually had marriages now. Marriages, children born. Yeah, that
Really?
have gone through divorce, have met each other, and have actually, gotten married and have children. So
Wow.
actually today on
Maybe
Facebook.
that frightens some of the people out there.
Well, I mean, if you want a relationship, it's about
Scares me to death.
it's about building yourself again and being, hopefully attracting someone that's, worthwhile into your life.
What about men? Are they involved in this too, or women only?
Oh, extremely. We have men very involved, talk online, talk about their opinions. And you know what's a lot
Or
of
are
fun?
they at the meetups too, or is it only women at the meetups?
No, they go to the meetups too.
Men and women.
Very
Okay.
active,
All
very,
right.
very active. And what's nice is being able to hear, we just had a date chat night, which we sat down, there was probably about 25, 30 people at my house, and we sat down, it was he said, she said, and we discussed topics on
I'll bet
dating.
that was good.
It was
What we
good.
ought to do is video that and put it on YouTube. He said, she said, everybody signs a release. And then what happens is after a while, they don't remember that camera is there. I've done this at parties. That's why I'm Dr. Tough Love. I'm not nice, but I'm fun, And we had one party, which was singles party, and two women were talking about another woman. Oh, it was really vicious. Anyway, you do that, it could be interesting to have on YouTube. Hey, this is our party, this is a meetup. All right, you go to the meetup, and I hear you say that some guys, I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit.
Okay.
I've never done that before, but, well, maybe on occasion. So the guy says, wow, this person wants to get married and wants to have a child, and, I've been through all that. I've had kids, and that's, I've gone through all that. I don't think I want to go there anymore. Or even women who say, wait a minute, I've been there, done that. I mean, they're not in a position where they're going to be obligated in any way. I mean, they date somebody and they have a good time, but they're not, they can commit if they choose to or not commit. Is that just like anything else, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
Well, I think you just have to come clean with finding yourself, figuring out what it is that you want, and then you have to be able to meet a partner that has those same type of goals and understanding. I mean, it has to be, family and friends and all of that right down the line.
They say you can pick your friends but not your family, and that's a blessing sometimes. All right, so the next step after you have the meetup, you have the events, and then you have the blogs. How do new people come on board? Just through the internet, or?
Right, they just sign up and they just start coming on board, and they can talk, they can jump into a conversation. The divorce support group, they tend to speak sometimes all night long.
Divorce support group. That's
Divorce-
right, like shortly after they've gotten divorced, right?
It's actually while you're going through the divorce.
through the process.
Yeah, you're going through the process, and
Wow.
it's very
That's a pretty trying
heart-wrenching.
time, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's very heart-wrenching, and we have individuals that talk, all night long about situations that they have and how they're
Both
feeling.
men and women?
Both men and women. Men are extremely supportive, extremely active in the group. It's not just all ladies. And I tell you what, I think us ladies learn from the men. They really have shown us that men, we're always thinking men are hot dogs, that kind of thing, or they're more dominating and such. But really, our men on our group have such hearts, and they will talk and share about their experiences.
You're getting men to talk.
They talk.
That's pretty good.
Our men talk.
And most guys, I have nothing to say.
They're good guys. We have some great guys.
Well, communicating, and I tell the guys all the time, listen, listening is half, maybe three-quarters of it. You got to share it, too.
Absolutely.
It's a two-way street. If you can do that and bring them out, and I can see that you would be the type of person who would bring that out in people. What's your estimate of the number of people you have in the Tampa Bay area now?
We have about 1,500 in our group.
1,500?
About 1,500.
That's impressive.
Well, with all groups, it's all 6 groups. We have about 1,500, and a lot of them are active. They're pretty active in the group.
Wow, that's really outstanding.
Yeah.
And do they meet on a weekly basis, or?
We pretty much do. I mean, I try to do an event that's during the week, something on the weekends, and I will tell you that there are some other meetup sites that we co-post with that are excellent sites to be on. So as you're socializing and you're getting out and you're meeting people, our group is based on education and support. So we encourage people to join other groups and meet other people, and they do within our group. We have some excellent, like we co-post with events, Tampa Bay Adventures, Single Socials and More. Meet Me in Dunedin is a wonderful group. So those 3 groups, a lot of our people go in there and they start doing social events with them, not just with us, and they do it with them, and they're able to broaden their friend base, so to speak, and grow as an individual. So it's
You put a lot of work into this, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
It's a passion.
How do you feel about it?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I love it to be able to help people give back. Our group, what we call it, is Pay It Forward. So people that are
forward.
Pay It
Explain that.
Forward.
What do you mean by that?
People that are in our group stay in our group and help others getting through the transition, and we pay it forward. It's not just about me, and that's why we have a lot of men that stay in the group, and they help other guys get through, and so we have a lot of ladies that do that too, and it's all about pay it forward. And when they're ready to go on and move forward, then there'll be another wave of individuals that will pay it forward and help other people get through.
It reminds me of veterans groups, that do something similar. Guys just got back and maybe have some trauma, post-traumatic stress, and that's interesting because in a lot of ways, my PhD is behavioral psychology, and I see that type of traumatic stress. It's just the stress is so incredible that these people have. They're going through that transition of divorce, and it is what I would call a post-traumatic stress. It truly is, and although it may not be permanent, it's certainly going to be traumatic.
Absolutely.
I like that. I think that's a really good way to go, and you've got people who are committed to maintaining that. I may ask questions that nobody's ever asked you before, but at least, we get some answers. That's how it works. Well, when you say pay it forward and you have these events that go on, do you find that people that have just been transitioning through this divorce are willing to go to the events, or are they still kind of backed up and sitting in their homes and saying, I'm not going anyplace?
We have both. I mean, some people that it's very hard for them to go to events, so they actually just read online. I mean, I had, not too long ago, someone that came through that spoke online, through the email,
right,
and it emailed me and thanked me. They had been in the group for 3 years, never attended an event,
wow,
but read every single post, and
was
it
that
helped
a man or a
them.
woman?
I think it was a man.
Is it?
Yeah, I think
I'm
it
not
was a man.
surprised. In
Yeah.
fact, I would think it would be a man. I would
Yeah.
think so.
But I get them all the time.
I withdraw myself and I'll look at this stuff, but I'm not going anyplace.
Yeah, it is
and guys,
amazing.
you got to listen to this, because just doing that, as she said, 3 years is a long time. 3 years of your life, to sit and analyze it, and if nothing else, kvetch about it. You're going to get out there, do it, right? That's the important part here. Yeah, you're going through a divorce. You've been through a divorce. You've got this traumatic, or death. You've got this traumatic experience that you've been experiencing, and you're going through it, and you're going to sit home. That is not going to help you, because what you're doing is you're still carrying that baggage. Move, right?
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate that people do that, and I know it happens because we get emails like that all the time, and I'm looking at something that you had in your notes on your bio. When you talk about going solo after after divorce, that's the idea. You don't want to go solo, right?
Right.
You don't want to go solo because that's where you're going to be confining yourself to that room in the dark.
Right.
I'm going to crawl inside that TV set. I'm never coming out, right?
Right. That's why we call it a transition, because
Yeah.
you're actually transitioning into hopefully another relationship. And we've learned that a lot of times it's patterns. We have patterns that we do. We've chosen, a lot of people have been divorced once, twice, 3 times, and it's a pattern. And in order to break the pattern, you have to find out and learn more about yourself.
When you say pattern, is it a pattern, you're in my bailiwick now, is it a pattern that they establish because of them, or is it a pattern they establish because of the other? Are they attracting the wrong people over and over? I say it's the same person, different name.
Absolutely.
That's what they're doing?
Absolutely, yeah.
So no matter who that person they select is going to be with, that person is going to have issues anyway with whomever they're with, but you're just happening to select those people who are issue-oriented, right?
Right. See, what's happening is that when you're in a relationship, and then when you're in a relationship for a long time, and then you all of a sudden become divorced, you hear a lot of people say, oh, well, he did this, she did this, blah, 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 it's all them, it's all them. Well, in order for us to really heal from that and take time, and this is what the divorce support group does, it helps you it holds your hand and gets you through all the anger issues and all of that stuff that you go through.
Is there a 5-step process, more or less?
Yeah, there's some steps to it, absolutely.
Right.
And then you have to start looking back and realize where you created, where you were in the marriage. What part did you play in it? What part in the demise of the marriage did you play? And then once you start
healthy is that?
understanding, that's very healthy.
You think?
Yeah, I do. Because then I think then you can learn from that and you can move on. You can then figure out, okay, well, I am selecting the wrong person for me.
If you look at it that way, I agree with you, all right? But if you look at it, I think oftentimes people go through a guilt thing. We're going to talk about that right after the upcoming break. This is Dr. Paul. You're on the Dr. Paul Show with CC Shots.
And now, back to the Dr. Paul Show.
And there he is, Dr. Paul, with our guest, CC Shots. And I was talking about, during the break, about blaming yourself, okay? Sit there and say, well, that's all my fault, and I feel guilty. And no. Because unfortunately, I think that guy that stays in his house for 3 years, he's berating himself. He's taking that lash and he's hitting his back and saying, oh, I'm punishing myself. Stop it. Because the difference, I was born in the States. My first language was not English. And I hear European people, and I've spent time, and they say, are you good at what you do? And they'll say, yes, I am. I'm very good at what I do. Americans say, well, no, oh, shucks, I'm okay. Tell it like it is. If you're good at it, then you're good at it. And I'll tell people who are talking, I said, I've had guests after the shows, I've said, listen, you got to work on that a little bit when you be a guest. That's very rare, but because I select incredible guests like yourself. But I look at these people and I say, you did a good job. And they'll sit there and say, oh, I don't think so. Say, stop, right there. Believe in you. Because if you don't believe in you, nobody else will. And that's kind of what you need to convey to these people that are in your organizations, which I'm sure you do. Because these people are devastated. I've been rejected. The love of my life, it's gone. I'm over. I'm done. I'll never be able to relate to somebody in my life again. So what you're doing is perfect. You're helping these people. I mean, they're reaching up to touch bottom.
Absolutely.
Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again. And you're helping them do that. And it's so important. Because they will sit there and go through depression, literally go through what we call clinical depression. And it goes on and on and on. And oftentimes they do take antidepressants, and rightly so, because they've got to get back up. I mean, they've got financial worries, they've got emotional worries, their self-image is the pits, and it takes a while. And that's why you need to belong to an organization like this. Let us have that website again.
You go on meetup.com. It's www.meetup.com. And then you want to find My Friends Connect. And all you need to do is Google My Friends Connect, and it'll ask you a town. If you put in Palm Harbor, it'll come up all 6 groups.
Is that your corporation, My Friends
That's
Connecting?
my corporation,
Good,
yes.
Good. Mm-hmm. Excellent. I really like what you're doing. And you said you had over 1,500 quote-unquote friends. Now, when I tell people they have so many quote-unquote friends on Facebook, I said, no, you don't. Well, what do you mean, Dr. Paul? You go out and ask every one of those 1,000 people that say they're your friends on Facebook for $10. The ones that give you $10 are your friends. The ones that don't, drop them like a bad habit. Okay? And that's not the case here, because you're talking about an emotional bond who people are sharing the same types of interests and the same types of emotions, whereas the other is more a facade, more phony. It's not real. Oh, I have 3,000 friends. Yeah, right. And pigs fly, that type of thing. So what you're talking about is completely different. Now, take me through a meeting.
Well, it depends on what type of meeting. Now, for instance, we have our monthly meeting for the divorce support group, and that's the first Friday of every month, and we meet at Champs over at International Mall, and anyone's welcome to come to it. And basically, we sit around and have dinner, talk about whatever. I mean, sometimes we just talk and laugh and have a great time. Other times we talk about, bad things that are happening to
So you don't sit in a group, I'm thinking, of course, psychology group session type of thing. You don't really do that. You're going to dinner, which is more of a social thing. You're not really problem solving, or maybe you do problem solving, but it's not that type of atmosphere where we're sitting in a circle and it's group therapy. It's not what you're doing.
No, not at all. It is friends connecting, and that's exactly what it is. We bond through the meetup groups, through the events that we do, and we just sit and talk and have coffee or dessert, or, sometimes we'll do various different, we have new members, usually new members once a month. New members come out. They're very emotional at that time.
How do they feel?
Scared.
Yeah, scared. Mm-hmm. Good answer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They feel scared. Mm-hmm. Do you think they're scared of the atmosphere? They're walking into, I don't know what this place is, restaurant, and they sit down and everybody's talking. They don't know them. They never saw them before in their lives. You're there trying to comfort them a little bit. How do these people respond to each other? I mean, this is like a brand new person walking in going, I'm going to step on my tongue here,
Well, I tell you, once they get there, it's hard getting through the door. And we do have our pictures online, so you know who we look like.
What do you mean it's hard getting through the door?
It's hard for them to get through the door.
You mean to make that first step.
To make that first step.
Right.
Once they make the first step, they will go to the rest of the meetings. They'll talk online, they've connected.
Are these both men and women?
Both men and women. And we become extremely good friends. And over the years, we're that relationship, that bond that we have is something that I think will be there forever. Because it's when you're really down in the trenches, you're raw, and you're really telling somebody exactly how you feel, what you're going through. That's something that you'll keep forever. It's almost like as if, I think somebody like in, my father said one time, you're like in the trenches at war, and you're sitting next to the guy and you don't know whether you're going to live or not. Sometimes going through divorce, you don't know whether you're going to make it through either.
You're right. You may die emotionally, if not physically, but definitely emotionally, mm-hmm. and it may never come back. Do you find people become... They cry, they get upset at that mm-hmm. atmosphere, in that mm-hmm. locale?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they do. They get very emotional at times. They get angry. Sometimes their anger comes out about their spouse, what happened, they cheated, whatever. They're very angry about that. They're very scared about what's going to happen to their future, their children. Financially, some of them get totally wiped out.
Oh, yeah. No, they hit the bottle. Yeah, mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
Do you have something like AA where you have a wing person, a buddy system? Somebody say, listen, if you need to call Joe over here, he's been through it, you can give him a call, or Mary, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, we don't really have that, although we have said, one time there was a guy that came in and he said he wanted to talk to a guy about it. And so some of our guys will step up and say, here's my email, you can talk to me.
That's what I mean, yeah.
And then he later on came into the whole group, and now he talks to the whole group. He just needed that, a little bit of encouragement.
Here's some bonding there because he's not sure. He's probably going to ask him, hey, what do you think of this group? I'm a little dicey about this. I'm not... They're going to be, a lot of times, guys are going to be very defensive. Ladies, you're listening to this, 80% of our listeners and viewers are women. And the whole idea is you want to find out about a man. Why ask a woman? Ask a man. Ask Dr. Paul. And I try to help in saying, guys withdraw. They get in there and they'll pull that arm around them, and you're not going anyplace. Mm-hmm. They're not. So they might, like you say, this guy over here, he looks like he's cool. I can relate to this guy. And sometimes you see a guy that's a fellow veteran. I don't care what branch he's in. You you kind of know they've kind of been through some things you've been through, and you say, okay, what about this group? You know, are these guys for real, or is this just a phony setup? And they're going to be defensive, very defensive. I mean, you can't blame them. First of all, if you're looking at a guy, and ladies, this is what they're looking at, they've probably lost their assets. That's assets, and they are really hurting financially and emotionally. And they're looking at these women like, these women are looking for a husband, and I'm not it. That's what they're saying to themselves. This is how men are.
Well, you know, we have one of the big topics is alimony. You know, the guys don't like that topic at all. But they're starting to understand because they're talking to the women about the need for the alimony. So their perception is changing. As in ours, you know, changing about, you know, how men are, you know, like within dating. You know, we talk to the guys a lot about dating. You know, like we just set out a thing with an article Ask Men had, and I posted it. It was like, you know, do the guys go for, you know, lips or high heels? You know, do they want pink?
Why either or? Why not both? Why?
Well, that's what I said, but anyhow. So, but it, you know, it was a fun article, and the guys, you know, they responded back to it, and so we women listen to them because we are setting, you know, our gauge now by starting to understand men through the groups, you know, through the groups that we're talking to. So it's a very enlightening experience.
Guys, I have a suggestion for you. When you go to this group, you announce up front, look, women, I want you to know something. I'd love to go out with each and every one of you, but I'm paying alimony. Here's my number. You call me and you pay for the date. That'll go a long way. Anyway.
We talk about that too. Who pays for the date? That was a big topic on our date chat night. Who pays for the date? And a lot of we're talking about with one lady that was more mature in the baby boomer, the more mature group, and you know, she said that she paid for it. Then we started talking about friends with benefits. You know,
friends with benefits. What does that mean? I never heard that before. Well, maybe I have.
So we started talking about that. So I mean, it leads to other things.
Well, I tell people, first of all, I do not make moral or value judgments at all. I had somebody call me today and, do you think you've been judgmental? And I said, absolutely not. Where do you get that? When we finished, he said, no, I guess you haven't been, Doc. He said, I just wanted to make sure. He said, maybe I heard that differently. And I said, no, we don't do moral values. We don't do judgmental values. We are not making those types of moves at all.
And that's the same with us. There's no judgment on ours. And as you're, you know, older, you know, you have to make different decisions.
Absolutely. You have to be realistic, and that's the whole point. Well, look, we're getting up to the top of the hour, but I want to say a couple things here. One is that guys and women, go to these things. Get out from your rut. Don't carry that baggage of it's my fault, it's my fault, it's my fault. Get over it. Who cares whose fault it is? You're beating a dead horse. Am I right? Fault has no issue. It's, again, like making moral or value judgments. Throw that bag of garbage over your shoulders. Don't carry that bag with you. It's not worth it. Am I right?
Absolutely.
And that's the kind of thing I'm sure you emphasize. That was then, this is now, life goes on.
Right,
it's now
we focus on ourselves and how we can move forward.
Exactly. Don't sit there and berate yourself for whatever reason. I think this is truly one of the best groups I've heard about because they're caring about you. They're concerned about what you're about. And you have other people there that have had the same experiences you've had. If you had one recommendation to make to people in your group to improve it, what would that be?
Just really do what's good for you. I mean, sometimes if you take the focus off of your partner that you were married to or who you're dating, and you turn the focus on yourself, you better understand yourself, you will be able to grow and be able to move forward.
Good answer, because I believe that totally. Be your own person. Be your own person and know thyself. Does that sound like classic Greek to you? Of course it is. So know thyself, and that's where you are. And you're never going to know yourself if you're sitting there berating yourself or the person you previously have been with. They've got their own problems. Who needs them? You were there already. That was then, this is now, right?
Right.
Well, CC Schatz, it's been a pleasure having you aboard for sure.
Well, thank you.
Look forward to having you again sometime. I'd like to have you do some site work with us. You know, if you will, just send over to AskDrPaul.com. Take a look at us on the internet.
Yeah, love
Maybe
to.
with us on YouTube. And
thank you.
See if we can get some people that, you know, might be interested in coordinate a little bit. And I think your group is excellent. I really, truly do. It's exactly what a lot of people have needed and never found. when they get into a divorce situation or an end of circumstance situation, and it's easy to say it, but you have to do it. Get rid of the baggage, be alive. Today is the first day of the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Always has been. So we enjoy it. Again,
Yeah.
the website?
It's meetup.com, and it's My Friends Connect.
Okay, meetup.com will take you to any of the resources you have, right?
We have a divorce supports group. We have a relationship building group. We have a wanted middle-aged and singles. We have a beach singles and more. We have single parents for dating and single parents adventure group. All My Friends Connect.
If you can't find some place to hang your hat on there, I feel sorry for you. You got to
Right.
forget about it, the whole thing, right?
Right.
It's a marvelous idea, one whose obviously an idea whose time has come. And I think that for $10 a year, you can't beat that with a stick.
Absolutely. And then we also have the radio show, which is Going Solo Life After Divorce.
Oh, okay.
And,
you have the radio talk show that
Yeah,
you're doing.
Right. We
Good,
do that every
good.
Wednesday morning at 10 a.m.
I understand in the near future you might be on ironbroadcast.com as well.
Would love it.
Oh, great. This is Dr. Paul. As always, may your fantasies of today be your realities of tomorrow.